Hi, film addicts. Welcome to the show. Today we have a very special guest, Ken Levin. He's a property master who has been working in Hollywood for more than 4 decades on television shows and movies. Some of your favorite movies like Mystic Pizza and favorite TV shows like Wizards of Waverly Place and Lab Rats. And he also just penned a novel entitled Great Exploitations-A Hollywood Fable about a TV writer hired for ageism. Let's talk to Ken and find out what he's been up to. Yeah? Ken, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Marilyn. It's so great to be here.
Wow. You've been in the business and television and film for over 4 decades. Wow.
I know, and it seems like I started yesterday.
Yeah, and so we're gonna let's tell everyone because we want to welcome all our film addicts and all our listeners all around the world. Thank you for listening. And am I speaking with you today by remote internet these days?
Well, I live in Moore Park, California, which is just outside of Los Angeles. It's kind of a suburb. It's quieter, it's cooler, and it's a lot quieter. That's the main thing.
I don't even want to tell you what I saw walking down the street just before we started. I let my husky go out, and I was like, wow, my eyes, is that really what I'm seeing? And then I was walking my friend in Hollywood, like Hollywood and Vine, and she was walking her grandson, and I was on the phone, and I'm talking. She's like, oh, Marilyn, can you ask your friend about this? And I was like, oh, sure, and I'm on the phone. And the next thing you know, I don't know where she's at. I look and I'm like, she just like disappeared. And I look back and I see King, her grandson, and he's pointing on the ground. This person who was sitting there, like on the sidewalk, had put his foot out and tripped her.
Oh my God.
Things are getting crazy in Hollywood. So thank goodness you're like on the outskirts.
Yeah,
I think
that's
people
one of
are,
the
yeah.
one of the reasons we moved away.
Yeah.
But it's not too far. It's like 30 minutes from home.
So if you're listening and going, oh, I'm in Sweden or Italy or Africa or Mexico or wherever you're listening from, there's hazards in Hollywood. So do be careful when you walk by people because you might just be careful. So you're in Moore Park, and I'm gonna ask you this question: did you grow up in Los Angeles, or where did you grow up?
No, I'm actually a native New Yorker. I grew up in the Upper West Side of Manhattan. Very different from California.
Wow. On the Upper West Side in Manhattan. Wow, Manhattan is like lights and blings and like buildings that go up to the sky. Yeah, completely different, right?
Totally different. And my dad was a restaurant owner, so we were always going out to the best places, and it was a great childhood growing up there. Really, really was.
Oh, I've got to ask you, do you have any Italian restaurants? Because my mom's Italian and I'm Italian, so do you have any good Italian?
We used to go to Patsy's used to be the place to go.
Oh.
Patsy's was where everyone went. And it was also where all the mobsters went, and you could have dinner. It's like you used to go to the Copacabana, you could have dinner with the stars. It's like you can go to Patsy's and have dinner with the mobsters. It's kind of the same thing.
You got some stories to write, Ken. I predict some books in the future. Hey, they just did the Tender Bar, so maybe you have some stories about your dad and his restaurants, right?
Yeah. Oh my God. I will tell you one very quick one. My dad goes way back in history in the restaurant business. And for President John F. Kennedy's 45th birthday, they went to the Four Seasons, which my dad opened in 1959. And they went there for his 45th birthday in the private dining room, and I don't remember what they ate, but I know they had beers. And then my dad tells the story, they all got onto a bus, not the president, obviously, and they went to Madison Square Garden and watched Marilyn Monroe sing Happy Birthday to the president.
Are you kidding? They were there for that famous memory of Marilyn Monroe. Marilyn like me, but a different Marilyn with blonde hair and a film star. Oh, so that's John F. Kennedy, right?
That was John F. Kennedy. Yes, the one that was assassinated.
Oh, wow, that's crazy. So your dad opened a restaurant in the Four Seasons. Must have been incredible.
It was called the Four Seasons.
Oh, the Four Seasons.
And it was called the Four Seasons. It was for its time, it was the hot cuisine in New York. I mean, that's where everyone went to be seen. It was the Sardi's. It was equal with Sardi's, if not bigger.
Oh, we definitely need a Tender Bar story about your dad's restaurant. There's a book and a movie deal. So publishers listening and producers, right here, Ken Levin, you heard it on Filmatics podcast. We're having such a good time. So you grew up in New York, and did you have brothers and sisters,
I
or?
do. I have an older sister. She currently lives in New Jersey. She's retired. And I have two nieces. Matter of fact, I'll be back in August for my niece's wedding.
Congratulations, yeah. And then so when growing up, did you have a favorite film? We saw these? Did you get to
Oh
see
my
all these
gosh!
actors?
Well, being in the business now, I never had any concept that that's what I would end up doing. But yeah, I absolutely loved everything about movies from as early as I can possibly remember. And some of the major things that classics now, like Mary Poppins and Sound of Music, we were seeing those. I was watching those in the theaters during their first run. With my parents, and I probably saw those 5 or 6 times at least. But I would say favorite films. I mean, I have some youth favorite films. I would have to say, from a childhood, my favorite film would have to have been Flight of the Phoenix, which was a film with Jimmy Stewart, and it was made by William Aldrich, and it was about a plane that crashed in the desert, and they rebuilt the plane out of the wrecked parts and flew out of the desert. It was a wonderful film. That would have been my favorite film in the 60s.
Oh, well, just rebuilding that plane, and you escaped from the wrecked island in the desert.
Yeah,
Wow.
from the desert. It was, and they actually did remake it with Giovanni Ribisi. Recently, not too terribly long ago. I think about 10 years ago they remade it, and it was a very good remake.
Oh, wow. So, did you fly a lot of airplanes, little like
I
toy
do.
airplanes?
I have a pilot's license, and I got my pilot's license in 1989, and I do hold the distinction. When I was in the late 80s, I worked for a director named Bill Timmer, and Bill Timmer bought a World War II bomber, a twin-engine World War II bomber called an A-26 Invader. And we used to fly that thing everywhere. We flew it to Alaska and down the Columbia River Gorge, and we flew to the Bahamas, and so many adventures in that airplane because he had a camera package, and we took it everywhere. And we also used it. In many of the commercials that we shot as well.
Oh, wow. So your dad owns restaurants, the restaurant where celebrities and
Yes.
presidents and did you say mobsters go as well?
And what?
No, that's Patsy's is where the mobsters went.
Yes, that was a suggestion for you to have dinner in New York.
Okay, yeah. So, and so you're this kid, going to your dad's restaurant, seeing all these celebrities, and did you ever meet any of the actors or directors or producers?
I met everyone. I met Milton. I mean, a lot of the old timers, but Milton Berle, and back then Governor Nelson Rockefeller, Al Pacino. A lot of the old stars, a lot of these executives like Bob Evans. I don't know if you know him from. He was producer of The Godfather, one of the producers of The Godfather. But my dad's restaurant at that time, this was later, of course. He owned later in his life. He owned his last restaurant. He owned was a place called Top of the Park, which was on the 43rd floor of the Gulf and Western building at the time, and it was at the same time that The Godfather was being made. So if any of you ever watched The Offer, which is an amazing series on, I believe it's on Paramount Plus now. It takes place during the exact same time, and the art direction is phenomenal because it looks exactly like the building used to be. So yeah, I did. I met just about everyone. I mean, at the time that came to the restaurant, that my dad knew most of them.
Yeah,
he was friends with all those producers at Paramount.
Did you see any actors and go like, I want to be? Did you ever want to be an actor? You never wanted to be an actor, or did you do some acting?
Coincidentally, my Henry Winkler's parents used to go to the restaurant, and my dad knew them very well.
The Fonz. Your dad knew the Fonz. Hey.
And I became friends with Henry when I came out here in the early '80s. Went to North. I had a long meeting with him. About working in the business and everything, and he is everything that everyone says he is. He is the most sweetheart of a person you can possibly imagine. And back then he was doing, it was like the second to last or the last season of Happy Days, so it was right at the end there. right after it already jumped the shark, supposedly.
Oh, wow. So, and then so my question is like, okay, so you went to did after graduating high school, did you go to college or how, what?
Yeah, well, I went to a place called Hampshire College, which is in Amherst, Massachusetts. And its note of fame would be that Ken Burns went there also, the documentarian.
Beautiful.
And it was absolutely the best place for someone like me to go to school, because you could make films there, and really you could really do anything you wanted to. And I made a whole bunch of films, and had a great time.
Oh, wow. So you were making films and so you were a filmmaker.
Oh yeah, well, when I did realized I wanted to go into the film business probably about my second year of college, and it really was everything, because film is the ultimate amalgamation of art and science. That's what the Academy of Art and Science is for. And for me, it was just the perfect fit, because I am an artist in many different ways. But I'm also an engineer, and if many people will say that prop master is the subtitle for a prop master is creative engineer. Because we have to engineer things creatively. It's really the most perfect title for exactly what we do. So I've loved every minute. I've made props that you wouldn't believe. I'm really excited about the upcoming movie Lyle Crocodile, which is going to be out in the fall, with Javier Bardem and Constance Wu, who were wonderful to work with. They were absolute dream actors. And it's about a singing and dancing crocodile from a children's book called The House on East 88th Street. I'm sure a lot of your audience will remember that book. And they'll be seeing the promos for it soon.
Are you kidding? It's a crocodile kids book.
Yes, story. Yes, it's kind of like Paddington was, live action CG.
Do you know that I just finished I was deliberating between alligator and crocodile for the kids story. It was a kid story, and I was like, crocodile. I go, I wonder if kids know what crocodile is, so should I go with alligator? So I was debating between alligator and crocodile, but I just finished the cutest darn story for kid story, because I have Mr. Hopper's my big fat pink bunny Hopper. So I have this bunny, and then this very large bunny that's invisible, and only that the kids that believe can see him. And then I did a crocodile and a dinosaur story. So, because I have enchanting book reading, so I'm always doing these really cute. So who knows?
That sounds wonderful. That sounds so cool.
We're gonna have to make a movie, an animation film, and you're gonna be my property master engineer scientist. Because when you were talking, I was like, oh, what about like if you did Get Smart and like all those gadgets on the shoe phone and all those fun things.
You know what? When we did Lab Rats, I made all of those gadgets, all those kinds of things. And the greatest thing about what I've been doing recently is I got into 3D printing. So now I 3D print a lot of my props.
Oh, wow, that is so cool. Yeah, I just want to mention, okay, so you came out here after you graduated college, you're making your films, and then you met with Henry Winkler, the Fonz from Happy Days, and then how did you, like, what was your next step? Like,
well, I was, most everyone starts as a production assistant in the business, right? When you're going to be behind the scenes.
Yes.
And I started, I had a friend here, and he called me and said, "Hey, I've got some cleanup work in a hangar," And I just did grunt work. I did early grunt work, and met a producer, your line production manager, and he hired me on a commercial. And then it just really snowballed for him. And this is the early '80s, so early '80s in Los Angeles, or the '80s in Los Angeles in particular, especially for commercials, was an incredibly lucrative time. There was a ton of cash flying around, a lot of foreign cash, a lot of Japanese money flowing around. And I started doing commercials. I did a ton of McDonald's commercials, worked for a company called Sunlight Pictures. And one of the biggest commercials I did very early on, it was 1983, was a Ricardo Montalban E-Class Chrysler commercial, which you can still find on YouTube.
Wow, that is so cool. So that you really got into props, didn't you? I could just feel it.
I got into props very early. I knew exactly what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to build. Listen, everyone makes a decision. I knew I could either have gone corporate And 40 years later, I'd be sitting in my ivory tower, looking down, wishing I was on the set building things.
Yeah, and
So I
you,
made that choice.
yeah, and like we said, like you did Wizards of Waverly Place.
Oh yeah, that was fun. So
Yeah,
much fun.
yeah, you
Yeah.
did.
So watching Selena grow up on that show and go from this kid, this 15-year-old kid, to this sensation. That's really what compelled me to write this novel. Was watching her grow up in this TV environment. And what the environment does to kids. And one of the things that's wonderful of you meet when you work in kids TV is Hollywood kids leap off of their personalities leap off of them to greet you. A Hollywood kid when you meet them, because they're not shy, they're not reserved. They are out there to get they're out there to get the part, and that's what they learn early on. And that's what they are. They're gregarious, they're funny, they're personable, warm, and until until they become adults and drug addicts. No, I'm teasing.
And then they're like, don't take my picture. Don't you know me? Like, hopefully they're nice, because like I would like, one of the things, like Elvis the movie's out, and like if you do some research, he loved his fans. He really loved his
He did,
fans.
and that's actually, you mentioned Elvis because I know Austin Butler from Ned's Declassified.
Wow.
He worked on, yes. I was friends with him from Ned's Declassified, and I was very close with him and his mother, who unfortunately died in 2014. But he was very young then, so he wasn't quite Elvis quite then. But when I saw the movie and saw what he did with it, I was like, wow! It was just, I guess you could see the spark of that even back then. But it was really wonderful to watch this kid who I knew at 14 to grow up and become this superstar like Selena Gomez.
Yeah, and it is, for people listening, is like Ken worked on the show Ned's Declassified School Survival Guide. It's a TV series where Ken was the property master of over 49 episodes. Stuff like field trips, permission slips, signs, and weasels.
Weasels, yes, the weasels, exactly.
Yes. So you saw all these kids, Selena Gomez, Austin Butler, as 15-year-olds, right?
Yeah,
Just doing
Hillary Duff.
Huh? And Hillary Duff. You worked on Lizzie McGuire. You worked on so many. Do you have any fun stories? Like, say, do you have a fun Selena story, a fun Austin Butler story, and a fun Lizzie McGuire?
I can't say Austin wasn't. He was more of a background. He wasn't really he wasn't up front at that point. So not really anything from him. Nothing from Lizzie McGuire. And you know what? I wouldn't want to embarrass anyone, because yes, there's a lot of stories, but there's a lot of salacious stories too that that I wouldn't want to spread.
Okay.
But I will tell you that one of the wonderful things, Selena at the time was going out with Justin Bieber, so Justin Bieber would always come to the set, as well as Taylor Swift was always around. It was always around Wizards of Waverly Place. So they kind of became, because they were friends with Selena, they kind of became regular fixtures there. There's no interesting stories, but it was really effing cool to have those people around, at that time. And Wizards really was a phenomenon. It really was.
Yeah, and I write wizard stuff too. I write wizard book series too. So maybe
cool.
maybe we'll work on that. Who knows? We got all these things. We need to call Steven. Hey Steven, can you write some stuff so that we can all three work together? He's so busy, right? Ken Coons. You're like, so Steven Coons, yes. So you're just having fun. So like, can you tell us, like, okay, so what was your first property master gig then?
Well, I started in commercials,
right?
And I would have to
Your first TV gig, right? Like, how did you get that?
Yeah, I would say as a property master, my first TV gig was a show called Bailey Kipper's POV, and it was a kids show. It only ran for one season. No one probably remembered it, but that was my first show, and it was actually, it was a little creepy because it was about a kid who had all these cameras around his house spying on people, and so it was a little voyeuristic in that way. Obviously, they treated it very genteelly, but I had to make a lot of gadgets and things for that. So that was my very first TV show. And then I did another show called Under Suspicion, which was a cop show. I was in Portland for 5.5 months. When I came back, I did a lot of art directing on different shows in the late '90s. And then once I started working on Lizzie McGuire and prop mastering that, then I just started doing kid shows from probably 2000 to 2016. And my last show I did for Disney was a show called Stuck in the Middle.
Oh my gosh. What was can you remember any of your props that like have a funny story, or is your favorite prop? Any kind of like fun stories around those?
There's always, everything happens organically. Sometimes, it's part of what we do is we have to meld our minds with the creatives. When we have an executive producer, you have to align your vision with his. So what does he like? What do they like? What are they gonna, what do they think is funny? And you have to start to prop funny. And when you go out and you shop, and one of the wonderful things about being a prop master is you get to shop till you drop. And I remember once for Wizards, we had a scene where they asked me for a bowling ball, and they weren't specific, but they wanted something special, not just a regular bowling ball. And I searched all over the city, and I went into this one bowling alley that was, I don't know, it was not someplace I ever would have gone in my personal life. And I went and I talked to the guy, and he took me back. He said, let's look back. I got some old bowling balls back here. We went back into like this back dark closet, and like underneath the suitcases, and pulling out, moving the cobwebs. And he pulls out this clear, translucent bowling ball with a skull's head in the middle.
Wow.
And I saw that, and I knew they're going to freak out when they see this. This is so good. So I, as a property master in those kinds of situations, I can direct the story in a sense of what I get for their prop, because I can get something that they love so much that, that they'll write something around it. And that's really cool for me. That's really cool for those of us to get to accomplish that. So that's kind of a story about how the process really, how my process happens. And you search for these things. And, the way we work is you cast out the widest net you can. And you just keep reeling until you get the thing you want. And you don't stop reeling in until you get it. You may end up with 10 things that are kind of right or not right or sort of right, until you get the one thing. Or you take all 10 of those things and you make them into one thing.
Yeah,
that's what it's about.
Yeah, like art is inspiration too, because like it's like art, right? Like a
Yes,
sculpture or a prop or a painting. It's very it's inspiring.
Yeah, I remember when we did Stuck in the Middle, they asked for one scene called, we want a puppet to pop. A puppet comes in the mail in a box to one of the characters, and we want a puppet to pop out of the bunk, but we want it to be a steampunk puppet. Now, if your steampunk is wonderful, it's a wonderful style, which I love. Steampunk is one of my favorite things. So what I do is I go out. Okay, this is what they want. So I go out and I buy an American Girl doll, large doll, and then I go to the hobby store and I just fill my basket up with stuff. And I come home and I throw it all on the workbench. And then I slowly start picking this and picking that and gluing this on and gluing that on and, and attaching the screws and whatever until it just, you just tweak it. It's just perfect. And this prop was one of my favorite props in the world, and it worked. It was wonderful. It was really, really wonderful. And that's the process is what I find the process is the most wonderful thing. Creating that prop from scratch is the most, and seeing it there finished and knowing, and they love it, and and it's wonderful. That's such a feeling of satisfaction.
We need to talk to Ben Affleck and Matt Damon. Go, hey, on Project Greenlight, we're gonna have like Ken Levine there. He's gonna like put like a prop out there, and they have to write the story and direct the story and the scene around the props. Wouldn't that be fun? That would be fun, right?
Yes. And if you remember, I met Matt Damon in Mystic Pizza. That was his first movie.
Are you serious?
Yes. He was 15 years old, and he played Steamer, which was the brother of the love interest, because Julia Roberts' love interest in the movie.
Oh, I forgot. Wait, so he was the brother of Julia? Because I didn't remember Matt Damon being in Mystic Pizza. We remember Julia Roberts, and that was one of her first big breakout films, right?
Yes, yes, yeah. That I think, and it came out around the same time as not Suspicion. There was another movie about a band, and I can't remember what the name of it was, but not as big as Mystic Pizza.
Yeah, it was really cute movie, and she's so darn cute, Julia
Oh my god.
Roberts, right?
Yeah, I have the best picture of me and her
Oh, really?
from.
Yeah, we definitely need a reality show with Ken Levin doing props. I want to talk to my friend. She's a reality show producer, so maybe she might not. Who knows? You never know. You got to
You
talk. We
never
got to
know.
talk
You
shop. But you're
never know.
probably so busy working on all kind of stuff. You are you Oh, what? Oh, so we got we're probably gonna end in part one here and come back for part two because we want to talk about your book and your other shows and your movies because you worked with pretty much like everyone from every star in TV shows to all the film people, and then you're having people at your dad's restaurant like Al Pacino, Milton Berle, all these cool people, and the president, John F. Kennedy. I mean, come on. I mean, this is if this isn't a fabulous entertainment, I don't know what is. So we're having such a good time. And we'll come back for part two with Ken Levin, property master over four decades in Hollywood on TV shows and films. And then let's find out about his book too. Can't wait for you to tell us about that. So coming back for part two, everyone.
All right.